Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Amazing Race Rewind podcast, the podcast where we rewind back in time to watch the earliest seasons of The Amazing Race for the first time. My name is Andrew.
And I'm Jill.
And we are here with a brand new season. Well, not brand new, because it's from 2000. Was this 2002 or 2003 by now?
This would be 2003.
Well, it's not brand new, but it's brand new to us, because this is our first time watching it. Season 3, and we're here to talk about episode 1. What are your first thoughts on this new cast, new season, new look?
No, the first episode left a really big but really good impact, I would say. The biggest thing I noticed was that I felt every team was given pretty adequate screen time. You got a good sense of every single team, and they were able to make it so that you kind of felt for the team who got eliminated, and even the teams who came in last, which we haven't seen the last two seasons. In the last two seasons, the teams who got out first, it was kind of like, oh, okay, didn't really know anything about them, bye. But they're just getting better and better at this. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Because I recall season 1, episode 1, with Matt and Anna being eliminated. It was the most awkward thing ever. Like, they didn't give them any time to reflect on their experience. It was just, you have been eliminated. Okay, that was cool. Thanks. Cut to credits.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this cast, I agree that we did get a good taste of everybody. However, there were like quite a few teams that were highlighted more, and then some teams that I feel like we didn't really get to see all that much. And this is the first season that we have 12 teams instead of 11. And yeah, it felt like a lot to keep track of, but that's also how premiere episodes go anyway, because you're learning everybody for the first time.
Yeah, and to add to my point before, I feel like even though you said some teams got more airtime than the others, I felt that they were able to give more of the teams more airtime than before. You know, where, say, season 1, maybe in episode 1, you only got a really good sense of 3 teams. Here I felt like there was a good 6 or 7 where I could confidently say, this is probably going to be their character stereotype. I feel like they could maybe place here. Yeah. You just got a better sense.
Yes. And something that I thought was interesting is that we didn't have a roadblock this episode. I was waiting for the roadblock, but no, we only had a task and then like a route marker and then a detour and then the pit stop.
Maybe they cut the roadblock. Maybe season 3 deep dive.
Well, I mean, season 1, they cut the roadblock. Remember, they were supposed to eat an ostrich egg. Well, they did eat an ostrich egg, but they didn't show it.
No, sorry.
Oh, sorry, ostrich egg trigger.
I will get better at this. I will get better at this. This is the Amazing Race mindset in action, folks.
Yeah, you were really.
Oh no.
You were really. What's the word? Enacting the Amazing Race mindset the other day when you decided to send me an image of you saying, "Look, I'm cooking fish." To which I said, that's ridiculous. But you know what? I also said baby steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jill cooked fish the other day, which was huge.
Yes. I will be an adequate participant or contestant on The Amazing Race. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. So let's get to this opening. We're starting in the Everglades in Florida. And I thought, and the teams are coming in on airboats in a formation.
Yeah, what are they called? What are the Everglade? There's a name for those boats or whatever. Like it's bugging me. I'll pull it up again. But right away, I just thought, what a cinematic shot! It looks so daunting.
No, seriously.
With the music, it looks like they're going into battle. I mean, they kind of are going into battle.
Yeah, in the swamp.
But yeah, it was just. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was a very cool entrance visually. And I think it was cool to have the teams be introduced while they're sitting on these boats, because they would do like a shot of the team sitting on the boats and then they would go into their little intro package.
Yes. Should we just get into the teams then, as you said?
Yeah, let's get into the teams. So the first team that they introduced to us are Heather and Eve, Harvard law students.
Right away, I'm thinking they're going for Legally Blonde vibes.
They very much were, yeah, because they're talking about how they're going to play up, how other teams are going to underestimate them, how they're just going to be like two like blonde ditzy girls. But really, they're law students. And to me, I think they could have Mary and Peach upside here. So I'm looking forward to what they have to give the season.
Interesting. When I first saw this, I thought, oh, right away they're going to be at the front of the pack. They're going to be really strong contenders. But I think all the teams this year are pretty even. That's something else that I noticed. There's no real strong front runners to me. Everyone is pretty evenly weighted, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I don't think this first episode is a very good gauge for how strong these teams are race-wise, because we'll get into this later, but when they're on the charter buses, they're 2 hours apart, which pretty much determines the placement.
I didn't like that, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll get into that later. So that's Heather and Eve. Next up are Michael and Kathy, who are a recently dating couple. They're long distance, and they've never been together for longer than 5 days.
That's good for you. Never something I would do.
Yeah, these people don't know each other.
I don't really have much to say. I mean, you don't know this person. I mean, you sort of know them, but
yeah,
you have no idea their daily routines or what their habits or how they're going to communicate with you when navigating in a stressful situation. They're going to be an interesting one to watch, I think.
No, for sure. Yeah, and like with this experience, like you're going to be with this person literally 24/7. You cannot escape from them at any time. So we'll see what happens with Michael and Kathy. Kathy was saying that Michael is a lot more laid back and she's a lot more on top of things and not so laid back. So we'll see.
Which could be an issue if you live your life at two different paces.
Yeah, they were a team that we didn't really see a lot of this episode. Yeah, I didn't really get that strong of an impression of them. And I felt the same way for this next team, Dennis and Andrew.
Yeah, we did not see this team at all, I don't think.
Yeah. I honestly don't really have anything to say about them.
No, they're father and son.
Yeah.
It seems like in the intro, they were trying to it seems like with all these teams as well, when they're bringing them in, they want to show some sort of tension or, like, I mean, with Michael and Kathy, they're recent, like, they've never been together longer than 5 days. Mm-hmm. The thing with Dennis and Andrew is, I guess, Dennis is quite conservative.
Yeah.
And his son is openly gay, so I guess that's quite a contention point for them.
Yeah.
But again, we did not see them at all in this episode, so.
Which I guess it could be an interesting dynamic. We'll see if that has anything to do with anything. It could just be like a whoa moment. But this is something that I think they really like to do in this early reality TV, is like cast these people that they know like aren't inherently gonna get along. The next team that we get introduced to are Flo and Zach. So this team befuddled me because are they dating? Are they friends? What's going on?
They phrased it very interestingly. They both said they're friends, but they're like, but this is the first time that we're together, that we're around each other, that we've both been single.
Yeah. So what I thought they were talking about with that, I missed the part where they said they were friends. I thought they were just talking about how they were like just cheating on other people, on their partners with each other. But I don't think that's not the case. But
I don't think we've ever seen the title of affair partners on The
yeah,
Amazing
I think
Race.
that's so crazy to just admit that on national television. But that's not the case with Flo and Zach.
No, they are. No, there's no affairs or any of that here.
Yeah, but I think they're going to be a team to watch. We did see a little bit of them.
Yes.
Flo seemed to have a bit of a personality. She seemed to not really want to be doing a lot of things. Seemed to be a little bit whiny at some points.
Definitely a strong contender.
Yeah, I feel like we'll be seeing them for a while.
Yes. And the next team are twins. Again, we have the twins, and they're also models, Derek and Drew.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
the Renovation Brothers from HGTV. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw them. Isn't that what they look like?
The Property Brothers?
Yes.
No, they're twins, and they're models.
Okay, well, that's what I thought. I don't really know much about this HGTV show, but that's the first thing I thought of when I saw them.
What are the Property Brothers' names?
I have zero idea.
Give me a quick second to Google. But yeah, as we said, they're models, and they're definitely playing into that like Playboy kind of style. They said they're going to use a lot of flirting as their technique. One of them even described their team motto as "cutthroat with a smile," which they were definitely an interest. Like, they are good characters, and they definitely had a lot of action in this first episode, and were pretty interesting. Yeah, and
Ken and Gerard had some pretty good confessionals about them, and some funny comments about Derek and Drew this episode.
Oh, Property Brothers, Jonathan and Drew Scott.
Oh, so one of them's named Drew. Isn't that crazy?
Look at how it works out.
Yeah, isn't that funny? So next we have the soccer moms, Gina and Sylvia.
Yes.
They're stay-at-home moms. They seem like fun people.
They seem positive, nice. We've had similar dynamics to them before, but again, this was one of the teams that in this first episode got a lot more airtime.
Yeah. Although were they the ones who they were on like the donkey chariot and it broke and it fell? Was that them?
No, that was Heather and Eve, I think.
Oh, was it really?
I have it written down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Heather and Eve. We'll get to that.
Okay, well that was a whole different moment. That killed me. Next up are Tremel and Talisha. They are siblings, and Talisha describes Tremel as lazy, and she attributes that laziness to him being a genius.
Yeah, her direct quote, "My brother is a genius." And they play into this in a weird way of, he's just so perfect, everything he does is just comes to him naturally. If they encounter any problems or tasks, he'll just be able to do them with no effort, and she's just holding him back. Honestly, this would be you and me on the race.
No. Wow, okay. But they gave a lot of good stuff this episode. I'm looking forward to seeing more of them. Yeah, I really like them so far.
Yes. Next we have Aaron and Ariane.
So my initial reaction was that I love this team.
I knew you would.
From their first little intro, I was like, yes.
Think outside the box.
Yes. And the way she said this, that we think outside the box. We're alternative people. The way in which she spoke directly to my soul. It's like I have something about like the way the people's tone and the way their like inflection, and Ariane's inflection when she said we think outside the box, it was for me.
So what I'm hearing is we're going to be getting a lot more of Andrew doing accents this season.
Yeah, but it's probably not even accurate, guys. I've never done an accurate accent in my life. Accents are not on my resume skills list.
Well, you're not an actor, so.
No. Never claimed to be.
But nonetheless, I think this team will be strong, and I think they will be interesting to watch, and they will bring a lot of character and personality.
Yes, I think so.
Next up, we have Terry and Ian.
Yeah, so they're married, they're parents. The only impression I got from them this episode was that Ian seems like a little bit of a basket case, but we move.
For you to be like, the only thing I picked up was he's a basket case. That's an insane small remark to make. Be like, I don't know, I didn't really. It just seemed like I didn't really get a sense of them. They didn't really leave an impression on me. He's just a basket case.
No, they had that good quote actually about how they said that winning is everything, winning is fun, and I wholeheartedly agree. So I like that kind of energy from them.
They're here to win, and they're gonna be. Honestly, I think they're the ones who should have the cutthroat attitude, or catchphrase.
I think they could be, and that's something that's a little bit more unconventional because you don't usually see that kind of attitude from like an older married couple on this show.
So I think again, all the teams here felt so strong, but I'm going to say it again, they did fairly well, so they're a strong contender.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll make a run in this game. And now we have Andre and Damon. I don't know who these people are.
They're friends from LA, they said. One is a cop, the other's a firefighter. And they talk a lot about how their jobs and the need to be making decisions quickly on the fly in high-stress situations has prepared them for the race. They didn't really get a lot of airtime. They were usually lumped into a pack. Nevertheless, they didn't do horribly.
Yeah, I think they came 7th or something, which is just like the most unnoteworthy placement. So, makes sense.
I think they can surprise us either way. They can surprise us and go downhill, or they can surprise us and do really well.
Yeah, I think they have the skill set to do well in The Amazing Race.
And second to last, we have Ken and Gerard.
I loved Ken and Gerard this episode. They were so animated in their confessionals, and we didn't see a lot of them because they did end up taking the fast forward and like finished earlier than everybody else.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, sorry. But from what we got from them, I was liking what I was seeing.
Yeah, they have a really great dynamic in their interviews, it's hilarious, but it's not a try-hard hilarious. It's just quite naturally funny. But the shtick for them is that they're brothers, but one is this Democrat and he's gay, and the other's a Republican who's straight. And it's like, I don't know if they're trying to present this as a tension point or if it's just factual, because to me, they get along quite well and they're funny.
There was no tension between them as far as I was concerned. And they're loving that kind of dynamic this season of the conservative and liberal being on the same team. And then lastly, we have John, Vito, and Jill.
I have to add here that this is kind of a neat season because both of us have our names in a contestant.
We're both in it.
There's a Jill, there's an Andrew, and there's also a Drew. Not that anyone's ever really called you Drew, but
yeah, well, some people.
It's just funny. But we'll talk about Jill and Andrew as the contestants, but we're Jill and Andrew. That's so weird.
But for now, it's John, Vito, and Jill, and they talk about how they're a team of 3 because Jill had actually applied for the first season with her brother, who unfortunately passed away during 9/11.
And I guess John Vito was actually I don't forget if she said best friend or just friend of her brother, and so they'd known each other for quite some time. And after that, they really bonded and became close. And so, although they're recently dating, they've been longtime friends, and they consider themselves a team of 3 and are doing it in honor of her brother.
Yes. And they seem to be quite wholesome. Nothing really going on with them so far.
But you need the wholesome team, because I feel like they've got a couple teams where they're really looking to get some drama started, so
yes. Yeah.
I won't expect anything like that from them.
So once again, 12 teams, most we've had. It's no longer 11 teams of 2, it's 12 teams of 2 in the intro.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so they're starting off, and it's not the most appealing starting location. Like, I think it's better than last season.
Well, I have to say, it's season 1, they were smack dab in the middle of New York. It was so convenient.
Yeah.
And then season 2, it was the middle of the desert, and here they're in the middle of the Everglades.
Yeah, it's like, why do we keep starting in the middle of nowhere? There's something about that's really appealing to them. But Phil gives his spiel, and then the teams are off, and they're running to their backpacks. And something that's just so comical, they're running on the road, and there's this giant puddle on the road, and then everybody just, like, splits off on either side of the puddle and goes single file.
It is, and someone trips. It's the funniest.
And then someone falls. I don't know who, but it was really funny.
It was a good running sequence.
Yeah. So they grab their bags and the clue that's on top of their bags, and they're instructed to go to the Angel of Independence in Mexico City, which marks the first time the Amazing Race visits Mexico.
Yes, and this actually, I will add, most of the teams don't have an issue getting around here because they speak enough conversational Spanish that language, for the most part, really isn't an issue.
Yeah, I was actually quite shocked about how many teams were proficient in Spanish. On the way to the airport, Trammell is on Talicia's back for driving slowly, saying that she's driving like their mom. And this is quite the driving sequence. The law students are passing people on the inside. And,
yeah, but I guess they would know if they were breaking
and, like,
laws.
cutting people off, seemingly.
Oh my gosh. I think, okay, this is something I don't know why I haven't considered till now. But if you and I went on the race, I think we would need to designate a driver. Because the last thing you want to be doing is running up to the car and going, who's driving? Me, you. Who do you think it would be?
Oh, I've thought about this. So here's my thing. I think it's not about who's the driver, it's about who's the navigator.
Yes.
And you're the navigator, so I'm driving.
That is true, because I would be on the maps.
Yes. Yeah, and that was also the one thing about, like, oh, get the map.
I'm also a lot more comfortable being in the passenger seat. I'm quite an anxious driver.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'd be a lot more comfortable just being like, Andrew, turn here. Andrew, go there. And I wouldn't care if you're, like, throwing the vehicle left and right on the road.
Just, like, turning on a whim. Yeah. But if there's a speed bump,
oh my!
have to watch out.
I knew you were gonna bring
that.
Well,
of course I'm bringing that up.
Don't put the audio in, because I know you have access to that audio.
Oh, I do have access to that. Okay.
Anywho.
Well, I'll tell the story and decide if I want to keep it in. But anyway, one time we were driving with our friends. I was in the driver's seat, and
I was in the middle seat in the back. It was night. It was winter.
Of the back, it was night. It was winter. Jill was a little bit anxious, and we happened to go over a speed bump. And Jill had thought that I didn't see the speed bump, so she needed to scream at me that there was a speed bump.
How can you see? There's speed bump!
No. Andrew's telling the story wrong. Andrew was going too fast in a residential area where there was a speed bump.
Speed bump!
And I knew that he was going too fast, and we hit air.
No, we didn't. We did not hit air. Oh, if
There's a video of this. Watch the video.
If
we
this
hit
podcast
air.
was in video form, I wish I could like insert the clip. It's just like a little whoop, a speed bump.
It's not.
Yeah,
It's not. You were going 60, and I think it was a school zone, too.
How do you know I was going 60? I was not going 60.
Because I'm a very anxious passenger. When I think you had just gotten your license, too. Hadn't you? Like, you had only had your license for a little bit.
I had like gotten it in August, and this was like November or something.
Yeah, so I was already on edge. You had a car of 5 people. It was, yeah. I was watching your speedometer.
Okay, anywho. I'm the driver, Jill's the navigator. We're going to the airport. Well, we're not. The teams of season 3 are going to the airport. And the twins they missed the exit for the airport, and they show to be quite a mess this episode, and we'll see that later on.
Yeah, they're not what's funny is when I first saw them, I was drawing parallels in my mind to Robin Brennan, Chris and Alex, just kind of off of vibes and appeal, and right away that's not the case.
No. Chris and Alex and Robin Brennan did not have this many blunders on episode 1. Nevertheless, at the airport, we are told that the teams can choose between America Airlines and Mexicair or something.
Aero Mexico.
I don't know.
Mexicair.
I don't know.
Sounds like Medicaid, but
Medicare, Mexicair. So 7 teams can go on America Airlines, and then 5 teams could go on Mexicair. But Mexicair, what's it called? Aero Mexico leaves an hour after America Airlines.
Yeah. And the teams trying to sign up for these flights, it's quite the show. Andre or Damon, I actually can't remember who, they're for some reason decide to crawl under the like 2 ropes that are set up in front of the counter.
And take down the entire thing while they're
He's got his backpack on, and he just takes down there was no point in crawling. You could have walked around it with 3 steps. Heather and Eve, who get on the first flight, start busking already. They start going up to guys and trying to get money from them. It's quite a show.
Yeah, Heather and Eve, they actually end up scraping together at least $50, I think.
Which, good for them, but...
Yeah, I mean, they're being proactive. They're trying to improve their situation. So yeah, the airport is a little bit hectic, although it's not extreme. The airport drama, because the flights are allocated already, they pretty much just have to go up to a desk and then be like, okay, you have a flight, you're on this flight. But the teams that are on the first flight are Heather and Eve, John Vito and Jill, Andre and Damon, Aaron and Ariane, Michael and Kathy, Flo and Zach, and Dennis and Andrew. And then everyone else is on the second flight. And if you can guess this already, all the teams who are on the second flight end up at the bottom.
I understand why they do this, but I don't like it when there's a significant gap between the flights because it predetermines the race. And I mean, you could argue it's fair, but, you know, you've got teams who are stuck in traffic or stuck in these situations that are out of their control, and that just demotes them, so...
Well, especially when this is such a short leg, like we said before, there's only a route marker and then 1 task.
Yeah.
And then, especially because the buses, which pretty much determines the order, like all the people on the first bus were on the first flight.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, yeah, you can't really avoid this if there are only so many seats on the flight. But that's something that's not great, and I think would be a little bit different in a modern sense. So, yeah, upon arrival in Mexico City, they have to find the Angel of Independence.
Which ends up being like a monument in the city center area. And the clue, I loved this clue because it is simply just find Pablo. There's a picture of this guy, and it's like Pablo is somewhere in Mexico City. Find him.
Yeah, this is a good task. This is like a callback to season 1. They had to do this in Tunisia where they just gave them a picture of a man and then they had to find them.
But didn't they give them kind of boundaries for where he would be?
They might have. I'm not sure.
Because here's Mexico City.
Yeah.
A city of how many million? Find Pablo.
Yeah.
But I love what the teams did, and is they looked at the photo, and the photo was intentionally taken to show the cathedral behind Pablo.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, Geolocator, that game? Where you're plopped, if anyone who doesn't know, it's a game where you're plopped down somewhere random on Google Maps, and you have to try and figure out by placing a pin on a map where you are in the world. It's quite fun, actually. I like it. But that's kind of what it felt like to me, because you're looking, I mean, obviously on a much smaller scale. There, they just started asking locals, do you recognize the cathedral in the back? But it's a critical thinking task. I liked that.
Yeah, and I like it because we always or I don't know why I'm speaking for the both of us, but I think we here at the Amazing Race Rewind, like when the tasks involve the locals or like the local culture or makes the contestants interact with people.
Yeah, because it forces your hand at your ability to communicate across a language barrier, or just to be, an effective contestant on the race in general.
Yes. So Aaron and Ariane are the first to find Pablo, and they're told to go to Hotel de Quartet, and they have to sign up.
Cortez, isn't it?
Oh, maybe. That might have been a typo. And they have to sign up for a charter bus the next morning, which is one of 3 buses.
This sequence is kind of odd here, because it felt like when eventually all the teams arrived to the hotel, there was just so much behind the scenes. It felt like they were... For a moment, I thought, why did we step out of the race and step into a reality show? Because there was just a lot of scenes of people sitting and waiting. Mm-hmm. And obviously, yes, because they're waiting for the buses to depart. But there wasn't just a quick cut after the last team check-in to the next morning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But on the way to the hotel, or like while people are still looking for Pablo, Andre and Damon, they take the strategy of just like going into public and screaming out of if anybody speaks English.
Well, that was kind of they were kind of the one exception to when I said before most people didn't have trouble with the language. They were kind of one of the only teams who didn't have a base level of Spanish, which was quite comical, just standing there literally screaming, English! You know what? You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. And then also something of note, Derek and Drew, they leave their bags in the cab, and then when they go to find Pablo, they return to see that the cab is no longer there, and neither of their bags.
And the funny thing is, they just kind of stand there in these very, like, they're models, but they're standing in these model-like poses, like contemplative, Zoolander model poses, like, where did our bags go? And they're not really running around looking for their cab, they're just like, oh, I'm going to pose and look for my bag. Where is our cab? I just thought, if that were you and me, I would be frantic. I would be screaming. I'd be running through the roundabout looking for these cabs. You would be on the ball. We would not be standing there.
We would not be standing there. But, so this was terrible, gut-wrenching, earth-shattering for the whole of 30 seconds until it's like, oh, psych, the driver's actually right there. It's fine.
Yeah, it was very quickly resolved.
Yeah. And all the teams then make their way to the hotel, and the teams seem to have a good night at the hotel, which is interesting, like that they all get to like stay at this nice hotel, in contrast to last season when people were just sleeping on the beach the first night.
They were everywhere. The beach, or in the second episode of last season, they were in tents. Remember, they didn't wake the grannies up?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's like, these people get like a good night's sleep in the middle of a leg.
The production budget went crazy. Up.
And there's a little scene of Gina and Sylvia, the moms, leaving the hotel to go get food, and one of them sees a child, and then this triggers a breakdown of her missing her kids.
Which rightfully said, that made me feel for them,
Yeah, it was all very emotional and dramatic, I thought.
You sound so moved.
Yeah. Next. So the first charter bus is at 8 a.m., and the second is at 10 a.m., and the third is at noon. So we're talking about a 4-hour difference between the 8 a.m. bus and the last bus.
Which is insane. But before any of these buses even depart, Ken and Gerard and Derek and Drew, I think the night before?
Yeah. Or it might be the morning, I don't know.
Early that morning, these teams decide that they are going to go for the fast forward.
Yes. And then when they're getting ready to go out for the fast forward, the twins let Ken and Gerard know that they're going to run. And then this is when Ken and Gerard give a great confessional about the twins, talking about how they're going to run with their beautiful legs and arms, and the Wonder Twins, meanwhile, they're going to take a taxi.
Take a cab.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I feel like in certain scenarios, you would be the one to be like, it's quicker if we run. Let's just run. We have more control over it if we run. But what was the logic here?
Yeah, I have written in all caps on my notes, why wouldn't you get a cab? What is wrong with you? Why are you running?
And it's like, the morning comes about, and they just start jogging through this. Like, they literally just start jogging off through the streets. And I go, great. Do you know where you're going?
Yeah. How do they know like what to do or how far away it is? Meanwhile, Ken and Gerard promptly get the fast forward and then are told that they get to, what even is the fast forward? Is they have
The
to
fast forward was I'm sorry, it was stupid because there was no task. Basically, you go to this square in Mexico City, which is known for its typists. There's a well-known area with a lot of different calligraphy shops and typist shops where people who can't read or write can go and have people transcribe letters for them or anything. I'm sure there's more than just that there, but that's the intro that was given. And there was no challenge to the task. It was just you had to find one guy who had the clues. So it was kind of like the tea shop challenge that Kevin and Drew took, where you just had to be there and get it.
Yeah.
But nevertheless...
Yeah, so Ken and Gerard do get the fast forward, and they are told to go to the pit stop at Hacienda, and they have to drive themselves there. And they decide they're going to tell the twins that they've got it, so like the twins can like stop wasting their time.
Well, they contemplate it too. They're like, "Oh, should we tell them?" And one is like, "No, let's just go." And the other's like, "Well, no, we told them we would." So I like this because it's about if you want to stay in the race and not, get booted over a stupid reason. Stay on people's good sides. Make good connections.
Yeah. No, exactly. Especially leg one. There's no reason to, because like I think the twins would have been like, oh well, why wouldn't they tell us?
Exactly.
And then they give another good confessional. They were like, yeah, we saw them sweating. Like, oh my god, these gods, they sweat.
There was a drop of sweat on their perfect skin.
Yeah, it's so funny. And then one of the twins says, quote, I don't think I have it in me to do this anymore after they didn't get the pass for it. And I was like, let's just get off my screen. I'm over you.
I wrote it down because I'm like, that is an insane statement to make in the first episode.
I know. But yeah, especially because it's like you're not out, like you're still on the last bus with a couple other teams.
And whatever, they jog back to the hotel and wait for their bus.
Yeah. So we go back to the hotel, and bus 1 leaving at 8 a.m. has Aaron and Ariane, Flo and Zach, John, Vito and Jill, and Michael and Kathy. Bus 2 leaving at 10 a.m. is Heather and Eve, Dennis and Andrew, Andre and Damon, and then Terry and Ian. And then the last bus at noon is Derek and Drew, Tramel and Talisha, and Gina and Sylvia. And
the buses, they just take them directly to the detour, do they not?
Yeah, I think they do directly take them to the detour. And like I said before, these buses completely decide the order. Nobody who was on a later bus was able to pass a team that was on the bus before them.
Because they're such significant... Which also, it's stupid too because this carries into their start times for the next leg.
Yeah, that's something I'm really curious to see, is what the start times are going to be.
They're going to need to have a point in the next episode where it's time, like a time restrictions on a place so that everyone can kind of bunch up again.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But anyway, the detour is wings or wheels, and pretty straightforward. Wings, you get on a plane and you parachute. What is it called? Skydive. You skydive, which, And wheels is very cute. There's a little donkey with a little cart, and you have to help the driver of the cart doesn't speak any English, but you have to navigate him and his donkey in a little cart through a 7-mile course? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Andrew?
Yeah, to me, like, we've seen this kind of task countless times before.
Yeah.
Where it's like a scary thing or a tame thing, but the scary thing is faster. And a befuddling amount of people chose the donkey option. 4 teams.
Well, to be fair, okay. On the first bus, I think everyone chose to skydive. On the second one, it was most chose to skydive except for one, I think. And in the final group of people who came, they all chose the donkey cart.
Something like that, yeah.
It was roughly those proportions, but
yeah.
I was going to ask Andrew, which one are we doing? I think I know the answer, but...
Come on. We're doing...
I'm gonna make a case for myself. I know you're thinking, oh, Jill doesn't want to do the plane because it's heights. No, my reasoning here is actually I love donkeys. I had a pet donkey. And when I saw those donkeys, I thought I wouldn't be able to resist. They're so cute. I would walk with that donkey if it meant me being able to do that task. He's so cute.
Okay.
So...
But for me, also, it's not just like that the skydiving is faster. It's getting to skydive for free. Like, people pay thousands of dollars to go skydiving.
Now... during this this sequence of people skydiving, at the point that Heather and Eve arrive, there's an experience I would equate to similar to what you would see with me, where one of them completely breaks down, and she does it, which is good for her, but she's so terrified that her parachute won't open, which is valid. She's like, what if the backup parachute doesn't work? Valid.
They're asking them, like, do people die doing this?
The guy says no, which of course you're going to say that.
Yeah. But I mean, who was the one who was freaking out over it?
I don't remember.
Okay, well, whoever the partner was, the partner handled it very well. Like, she was just like a very calm presence. Yeah. To like hold her hand through it.
Yeah. Watching this gave me, this is where I just sat and thought, could I actually do that? Because that would be me. I know that would be me. If not, I would just pass out midair. Yeah. But it was just such... Yeah, because I think I could do, buildings are different, but I feel like skydiving is different than anything else because it's just you. You're not in a plane, you're not in a helicopter. I think you're not even on a bungee jump. It's such a, I think for some people, I can understand the appeal in the sense that you're so free, you're flying, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and they initially went for the donkey one, and as we said before, their like chariot or whatever, it detaches from the donkey, and then one of them goes flying out and face plants. It was so comical.
It was so funny.
But yes, yeah, the one who hates this was like grimacing and groaning, and then the way she like falls out of the plane and her limbs are like flailing when she's like running in the air, it was very insane, this skydive.
Well, because she had her eyes closed too. I think when the professional skydiver who she's strapped to is trying to walk to the edge of the plane, and she's like, my eyes are closed, I'm not looking, and he's just like, okay. And then when they jump, she just because I would probably keep my eyes closed too, but it would be such an odd feeling if you think about it. Like, you're just completely not attached to anything. Like, I can't think of an experience in any memory I've had that can relate to that sensation. Like,
probably not. No.
Like, when you really think about the sensation of falling like that, I can't equate it to anything else I've ever done.
I mean, I feel like have you had a dream before where you've like fallen off a cliff?
Actually, no.
Okay.
I've been burnt alive, but
I've had several dreams where I'm like falling off like a building or like off a cliff or something, and it's like it feels like it. I feel like anybody who's had that dream before, it's like you feel like it's actually happened to you.
I don't know. Have you ever? I know. Not that this is quite the same, but the VR. You know those VR centers where you can go and play games. I've seen. It's like a game where you're supposed to. It's like you're jumping off a building. And even though you're in VR, people have such a hard time doing it because it's the fact that you're on this platform up really high. And if you see the videos, people, they'll be like in just a cube. They're just in VR, but they jump and then face plant on the floor because their brain is just expecting them to have the sensation of falling. So they jump, trying to jump like this because there's only floor, but they end up jumping and falling. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the heights in that, like, I think I could get over the heights. Wow. I think I don't know how I would deal with the sensation of that.
Yeah, and I think a big thing between this and bungee jumping is when you're bungee jumping, you actually have to like physically jump off of something. This, you're tandem skydiving, so you're just like attached to somebody, and then somebody the expert who you're skydiving with is the one who like walks off the thing. You're just like limp. You're just there for the ride. So I think that makes it a little bit easier than bungee jumping in that aspect. But I think just hanging out the side of a plane that's open would be very scary.
Yeah.
But anyway, another moment that has significance to me that I thought was pleasing was I don't know what I'm saying. Flo is also apprehensive to do the skydiving detour, and Zach says, well, we're not going to die, and she just says, whatever. But the whole skydiving thing was very cool, and it's like, how did they shoot this? Like, did they have a camera person jump out beside them?
I would assume they would have a professional camera person there, like, because you can't just make because the camera people are down on the ground, so you probably have a professional videographer up there with they would probably have an allotted amount of professional videographers there with them, and then
but there are a lot of very cool shots of them skydiving in the air.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, other than Heather and Eve, nobody really seemed to put up a huge fuss over the skydiving. Like, everybody just kind of did it.
Or they just didn't include that in the cut because they'd already done so much of it with Heather and Eve.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so while the detour is going on, we see that Ken and Gerard arrive in first place at the pit stop, and I was very happy for them. They're stars in my eyes.
They are, and they won a little vacation, which is nice.
Yeah, a 7-night Caribbean cruise.
Which they can enjoy after the race.
Yes. Not during, but after.
No, you can't take that cruise during the race.
Yes. Do you have anything else about this detour?
Not really. Like I said, no other team was highlighted a lot because, like I said, quite frankly, a huge amount of time was given to the Heather and Eve situation of freaking out. But like I said, there was a very odd split of, initially everyone went for skydiving, so I thought, oh, that's how it's going to go. And then by the end of it, most people were doing the donkey cart.
Yeah. But yeah, the people who did the donkey one, it didn't seem to be as detrimental to them as I thought it was going to be.
But I also think that's because most of the people who were doing it had many other people in their kind of group of 4 or whatever doing it at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. Michael and Kathy, who were on the first bus, they did the donkey one, and it's like they were 2 hours ahead of 2 and 4 hours ahead of everybody else, so it didn't really matter much to them anyway. Although they were at the back of their respective bus cohort.
No, exactly.
I guess this is what we get for having an extra team. They don't have a roadblock. They spend more time on each team, I suppose. And Flo and Zach end up in second. And there was this weird thing where Andrew was on the ground before Flo and Zach, but Flo and Zach had somehow passed Ariane in the air. Did you notice that?
I did. I wonder how they did the order of who jumped first.
Yeah. But anyway, Aaron and Ariane are in third. Michael and Kathy are in fourth. John Vito and Jill in fifth. Heather and Eva are in sixth. Andre and Damon in seventh. And I just have a note here that teams are just they're hustling after the skydiving. There's just like this cool shot of where somebody's reading a clue and like you can see a plane flies over them. It's all very hectic. Dennis and Andrew in eighth. And then Terry and Ian are in ninth. And then we get to the last 3 teams. And nobody knows where they're going. Tramel and Talisha are in the lead. They're like leading the last 3 teams. The twins and the soccer moms.
But they think they're out. So we get a great pit stop reaction from them.
Yes. And this whole sequence of them and like the other teams getting to the pit stop, the last 3 teams, is very chaotic. Like people are pushing cars. Somebody says like, I think the clutch just fell out of the car. People are stalling all over the place and screaming every 2 seconds, asking for directions. Nobody knows what's going on.
A lot of difficulty in finding this pit stop because everyone's asking where it is and they're asking people to lead them to it.
Yeah, all of these bottom 3 teams got lost and they all thought that they were getting eliminated.
Yeah. So Tramel and Talisha show up and, as we said, they have quite a party. They thought they were out.
Yeah, they're like walking to the pit stop all defeated. They're like, oh, here's the walk of shame. And Phil lets them know that they're in 10th. And it's the best celebration I think I've probably seen.
Oh, yeah. They're dancing. They're screaming. They're happy. Can you imagine, though? I just saw this. Imagine you're walking to the pit stop and you're so close. And because you think you're out. And then another team who's running really quietly behind you runs past you. And then you get out.
That would be terrible. That'd be the worst elimination ever.
That will never be us.
No. Tramel and Talisha, I was very glad. I was smiling along with them that they were still
I like
here.
them, and I hope they go far.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit messy, but I like what I see so far. So now it's between the twins and the moms, and personally, at this point, I was rooting for the twins to be out.
Yeah, me too. But
alas, Derek and Drew arrived in 11th. And then the soccer moms, they dropped their bags and they were sprinting to the finish. And that's what I like to see, ladies.
You should teach those like Zumba classes.
Zumba classes. Yeah, they were.
Or whatever they are.
They were running their hearts out.
And you know what? Even though they're out on the first leg, you felt for them. They were able to incorporate their emotional stake. And they gave it their all. Yeah,
they took the elimination with grace. They seemed to just like be truly grateful for the experience that they had. they had like a decent amount of screen time for the first episode, and like they were able to talk about what it means for them.
Exactly.
So we say goodbye to Gina and Sylvia, the soccer moms of season 3.
Yes, but we are on to the rest of The Amazing Race and The Amazing Race Rewind season 3.
Yes, and we get a little sneak peek for the next episode, to which the only 2 notes I have are Ariane goes topless and people are flipping a jet ski.
Sounds like a crazy time. I'm so excited to figure out what's going on.
Sounds like a crazy time. Yes, and we will be right here next Tuesday to cover it.
Yes,
but in the meantime, yeah.
I would say we are so happy to be back. I know I've said this in the deep dive, but I missed this. This was an integral part of my life. And Andrew being on the end of the earth for 4 months made me realize, wow, I need this podcast to make my route to
the end of the earth.
This podcast is an integral piece in the well-oiled machine that is my daily routine in my life, and I need it.
Yeah, we need this every week. So,
and hopefully you guys feel the same about listening to it.
Same. Yeah. And if you do feel the same, we would love to hear you in our email inbox at amazingracerewind@gmail.com or on Instagram at amazingracerewind. We're going to be posting highlight clips from this episode if you want to see what we're talking about or just see some old-fashioned Amazing Race. And yeah.
I think that's it. Looking forward to the rest of the season, and yeah.
And we will see you next week.
Bye.